if you don't work through that wound, and for those of you who identify as the anxious attachment, I mean, Ricky can also tell you this, but that is something that is in our conditioning. That is something that is a coping mechanism of our wounds. So let me explain this. A wound, the core wound is what comes from like childhood or past trauma that you have that you may not even realize is stitched into your nervous system and stored in your subconscious mind. The coping mechanism is the method that the ego develops as a way to be able to cope with this wound, as a way to be able to survive. And like Ricky said, in many moments, just give you that sense of comfort or safety to avoid this wound. Now, you may think that, oh, then this should be something really constructive and positive and successful. And actually, it was. When you were a child, this is what got you some level of like connection and safety and an ability to survive in your home. But then as you grew up and you started to be involved in a different sort of world and everything around you, naturally the better thing for us to have gone through would be, okay, I no longer need that because I'm healing that wound. But the truth is the wound still stays in there. And so the coping mechanism still stays there too. Now, I'll tell you something so crazy, guys, is that you, no, not you, you probably know this already, but, but if you don't work through that wound, you will attract partners. Let's say you even attract a healthy partner who needs his space or her space and wants to give you your space, and they want to show up for you. You will abandon that partner because you're like, well, you don't fit in my pattern of my coping mechanism and like everything I've learned, so this is definitely not going to work. And so you unconsciously will just like reject them, push them away.
I get that question a lot from people who have tried to put themselves in the disorganized label, because they'll say, well, I'm not an anxious attacher, I'm disorganized, because when people want me, I run away. And I say, that's actually hallmark anxious attachment. That doesn't make you a anxious avoidant. That makes you an anxious attacher who doesn't know how to act when somebody actually shows up and wants to stay.
There you go, exactly. And you know what we call it in our workspace, but also what I've studied it to be called is called the flippening, where if you're so used to a particular attachment, if you're so used to a particular program or pattern, your ego will literally flip your attachment style when you receive someone who's so similar to you. So let's say we both identify as like, I'm an anxious attacher, for example. And then like, I'm so used to the avoidance coming into my life, and I'm like, yes, they trigger my pattern, so that's why I keep wanting them. Then suddenly I find someone who's secure coming into my life. And then this person wants to give me love, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're a bit needy. You're too much. We convince ourselves that that person is suddenly being too much, too needy. And we flip like temporarily to what we call like the avoidance. So it's called the flipping, where you flip to the avoidant to convince yourself that what this healthy love that's coming at you is just another example of someone who's needy or anxious. So then you push them away, which means you've rejected security and safety, and now you go all the way back to your anxious attachment. It's fucking crazy, but that's how powerful. That's how powerful the mind is.
I talk about that in my book. It's the feeling when you're on a date and you're just bored out of your skull. And it's likely that you're an insecure attacher who's sitting across from someone who's exhibiting secure behavior. It doesn't light up anything in us. Those old patterns that we look for aren't there, and we just sleep through that date.
Hey, and welcome to the Inner Yats YouTube page. If you like our content, make sure you click the like and the subscribe button so that you get more of these amazing videos that keep coming your way.